The once flourishing kingdom now lay in ruins, brought to its knees by the Arch-Lich. His relentless undead forces spared no one. Every human in sight was torn apart without mercy. The only figure still resisting was Aoz, the Empire's most formidable swordsman. But even he appeared exhausted, on the brink of surrender. But the one at the heart of this tale, the one who stands as both its hero and its villain, is Damien Haxon. Once an ordinary man, his life was stolen when the Arch-Lich bound him with dark sorcery, transforming him into a Death Knight and forcing him to carry out unspeakable acts. Before the Arch-Lich could revel in his gruesomely earned crown, Damien broke free from the magic that bound him. With a single, devastating blow to the Arch-Lich's chest, so fierce that even the demon generals couldn't shield their master, Damien turned against him. His sudden defiance stunned the Arch-Lich, who had believed Damien's will to be completely erased. But a sliver of Damien's soul had endured all along, silently watching, waiting. The demon generals moved to retaliate, only to be obliterated by one strike from Damien. In desperation, the Arch-Lich summoned a vast horde of undead to overwhelm him. But Damien incinerated them all with a single wave of his hand. In that moment, the Arch-Lich realized the horrifying truth: he had unleashed a force capable of rivaling the gods themselves. Frantically, the Arch-Lich tried to speak, hoping to calm Damien down, or at least buy time to shift his soul into another vessel. But Damien wasn't about to let him escape. After everything, after losing everyone he cared about, he wouldn't allow it. He had forged a soul-severing technique, a power thought to be mythical. The Arch-Lich laughed it off and tried to flee. But it was already over. Damien delivered his final blow straight to the Arch-Lich's chest. At first, it seemed ineffective. Then, the magic surged through the Lich's body. Pain overtook him, and he exploded, leaving nothing but a skull behind. Damien crushed it with his bare hands. His vengeance complete, Damien was hollow. Under the Arch-Lich's control, he had slaughtered his own family. A part of him had watched it all, powerless. The only way to see them again was through death. So he took his own life. But that wasn't the end of his story. He opened his eyes to find himself looking at his beloved older sister. She seemed younger than he remembered. Damien assumed he was in heaven, watching over her, but she was real. When he called her younger, she giggled, assuming he was flattering her to dodge their father's wrath. Always kind, she promised to protect him and urged him to come inside before the rain came. In front of him stood the mansion, the same one he had once burned to the ground. He was stunned. Was this a dream? Or had he truly awakened from the nightmare that consumed his life? To test his reality, Damien picked up a tree branch and stood before a massive rock. Drawing on the power from his Death Knight days, he jabbed the rock. At first, nothing. Then it crumbled into fragments. This wasn't a dream. The truth dawned on him. He laughed, striking a pose worthy of Light Yagami. But the joy faded as the weight of it all sank in. He hadn't dreamed it, he had returned to the past. At this point in time, Damien had been nothing but a disgrace. A family embarrassment, constantly reminded by his father how worthless he was. His foolishness had brought shame and loss, even causing the confiscation of the family estate. Eventually, his father had cast him out. Among the entire family, only Damien's older sister still held faith in him. He never understood why she remained so kind and supportive, especially after he'd ruined her life by sabotaging her engagement. Before he left, she had even tried to give him money for his journey. Damien hesitated, then snatched the sack and fled. He couldn't bear to meet her eyes, overwhelmed by shame. Once far away, he finally came to terms with just how cursed and broken his life had become. Guilt and remorse gnawed at him, carving deep regrets into his heart. Now, kneeling in the present, Damien's thoughts scrambled to piece together what had caused this sudden regression in time. Sure, he had longed to make amends with his family, but actually traveling back in time felt unreal, like a divine miracle. He glanced at his trembling hands, still shaking from the raw power of the technique he'd unleashed. That technique, wave-breaking, was a devastating move that magnified a strike's force manyfold. Damien had mastered it after overcoming a knight feared as the castle-walled destroyer. Just then, a familiar voice reached him. A breathless servant called out with concern, having clearly run a long way to deliver urgent news. Damien recognized him as someone from the household staff, though his name slipped his mind. Then it clicked, Victor. Victor confirmed it, and quickly asked why his young master was still outside when Lady Louise herself had come looking for him. He reported that the patriarch was furious. Damien had no idea what he had done to spark such rage, but the answer would come soon enough. Back at the Hawken Vice-County mansion, the patriarch's thunderous voice shook the halls. Without hesitation, he swung at Damien the moment he appeared. Luckily, Damien's quick reflexes as a knight saved him from the blow. His mother and sister burst in just in time, intercepting their father before he could land another strike. Apparently, Damien had been thrown out of a tavern for causing a massive commotion, once again tarnishing the family's reputation. The town was already buzzing with rumors of the Hawken heir being a disgrace. If not for his mother and sister, his father might have fractured his skull right there. The two women tried to calm the enraged patriarch. Meanwhile, Damien took a moment to reflect. He couldn't even recall the last time he'd been scolded like this, and oddly, it made him feel alive. A few introductions are in order: the furious father, Paul de Hawken; the mother, Marie de Hawken; and the sister who always stood by him, Louise Hawken. Though chaotic, Damien hadn't realized how deeply he had missed these moments from his past life. Without warning, tears slipped from his eyes. His family froze, stunned to see him cry. It was completely out of character. Even De's fury softened. Before delivering any punishment, he gave Damien a chance to explain himself. But Damien remained silent. No excuses. No lies. The honesty of his silence caught his father off guard. Damien, once known for deflecting blame with flimsy excuses, now took full responsibility. He admitted his actions had brought disgrace to the Hawken name, and he didn't try to deny it. De let out a long, heavy sigh. This wasn't how these confrontations usually played out. Still, he wasn't sure whether Damien's newfound honesty would be enough to absolve him. Damien then spoke with measured respect. He was ready to atone for everything. Whatever it took to make things right and restore the family's name, he was willing. And once that was done, he would accept whatever punishment his father deemed necessary. His family was taken aback. Damien didn't sound like the same person. His father even wondered if he'd hit his head or something. Stealthily making their way toward the pub, Victor looked uneasy, tension etched on his face. He wasn't convinced this was a smart move. Word on the street said the pub was backed by a syndicate, and if that rumor held any truth, they were walking into serious danger. But Damien, once a fearless death knight, strode forward without hesitation. He told Victor to turn back if he was too scared. Victor, ever loyal, simply shook his head. Fear wasn't enough to make him abandon his master. Damien assured him their only goal was to speak with the pub owner and apologize for the mess he'd made last time. He just wanted to make amends. As he moved forward, he silently hoped things would go smoothly. He still didn't understand how or why he had traveled back in time, but if some divine force had granted him a second chance, he refused to waste it. If he was to end the curse of constantly ruining his family's future, he'd have to act boldly. As they approached the pub's entrance, two thugs immediately spotted them. They recognized Damien and responded with smug hostility. Damien didn't recall their faces clearly, it had been years, but something about them felt familiar. Keeping his composure, Damien addressed them calmly, explaining that he had come only to apologize for the previous chaos. The thugs paused, caught off guard by his tone. But once his words registered, they erupted in laughter. To them, it was laughable to see Damien, the disgraced heir, suddenly behaving with politeness and humility. They had always seen him as a worthless noble from a crumbling lineage. But now, he seemed a little different. Damien stood quietly as they continued to mock him. But then, their insults turned vile. They started making obscene remarks about his sister. They said they'd only accept the apology if he introduced them to her. Their filth was beyond redemption. At that point, apologies were off the table. Without hesitation, Damien snatched a dagger from one thug's belt with such speed that the man didn't even notice. He had come here to settle things peacefully, but his patience had run thin. With a swift, clean slash, Damien severed the thug's hand. The man collapsed to his knees, howling in agony as the shock hit him. The second thug immediately drew his sword, though fear flickered in his eyes. Damien's killing instinct surged, the death knight within him was waking. Victor, standing aside, panicked, shouting Damien's name, terrified of what might come next. The injured thug's screams drew attention. A passerby stopped to observe the chaos, while another quickly turned and fled to avoid it. The armed thug began to threaten Damien, claiming allegiance to the Black Snake gang. He warned that no one escaped untouched after crossing them. These weren't just low-level criminals. Damien remembered the Black Snake Gang. It was during this time that their power was on the rise. This pub was one of their strongholds. He recalled how, years ago, he'd complained about the pub's overpriced meals, and been beaten down, humiliated in front of everyone. Thinking back, Damien realized he had been the one wrong. If anything, he deserved the apology. The thug wasn't done. He warned that noble status wouldn't protect Damien. Then he lunged forward with his sword. Damien sidestepped, swept the thug's legs out from under him, and sent him face first into the ground. Before the man could recover, Damien pinned him down and raised his dagger. He could have ended him right there, but he chose restraint. For his family's sake, he decided to take only one leg. With precision, he sliced through the thug's leg, making him collapse in screaming agony. The commotion drew more gang members to the scene. They arrived just in time to witness the carnage, visibly shaken. Only one stood at the front, while the others hung back. He demanded to know which gang Damien represented and where he was from. Damien responded that he wasn't affiliated with any gang. He reiterated that he had come to apologize, but after some thought, he said he believed he was the one owed an apology. He added that he had a complaint for the pub's owner. The brash thug didn't care. He wasn't interested in hearing any of it. All he wanted was Damien's identity. And since Damien refused to share it, they decided to force it out of him. The leader barked in order to attack. The gang rushed at Damien, completely unprepared for what awaited them. Damien didn't bother wasting time. Taking a sharp breath, he surged forward at lightning speed, effortlessly disarming them, literally, removing the hands of men who never should have drawn swords in the first place. With a single burst of movement, 3 thugs were already on the ground. Damien, slightly winded, stood steady while the gang leader stood frozen in disbelief. The speed had strained Damien's still developing body, but he had enough left in him to deal with the last one, and he was more than ready. The gang leader dropped to his knees, pleading for mercy and swearing he'd apologize if spared. But this sniveling coward wasn't getting off easy, not before Damien took something from him. Meanwhile, inside the pub, laughter and chatter filled the air, until all eyes shifted to the doorway. The thug stood there, trembling, unable to escape his fate. Moments later, his body crumpled to one side, and Damien stepped through the entrance, calm and blood-streaked. The sane patrons who'd been sipping their drinks moments ago now scrambled in panic. Fortunately, the troublemaker who had fled earlier didn't return, leaving Damien free to confront the pub owner without interference. The owner stormed into the hallway, fuming at the ruckus. What ticked him off most was the absence of his guards. This bar owner, Anderson Holm, looked like a goofy villain straight out of One Piece, all wild expressions and an oversized mustache. Damien only made things worse by casually informing him that the guards had already been dealt with. Reality hit Anderson like a brick. Someone had taken down members of the Black Snake Gang? Unthinkable. He demanded to know what Damien's problem was, why he'd stirred up chaos, and more importantly, who the hell he even was. Damien didn't hesitate. He introduced himself and made it clear he hadn't come looking for trouble. All he wanted was a real apology. The prices were outrageous, and when he complained before, they didn't just ignore him, they beat and humiliated him, tossing him out like trash. People assumed he was the one at fault, and that false image had dragged his family's name through the mud, leading to serious damage and disgrace. But Anderson, clueless as ever, didn't grasp the gravity of the situation. Instead of owning up, he mocked Damien and insulted his family. He sneered that the Hawkacks and the Viscounty had no honor left to protect anyway. Damien couldn't help but laugh at the sheer stupidity of it. Anderson found the idea of apologizing absurd and laughed right in Damien's face. Damien, however, had expected exactly that reaction. He had come willing to forgive, if only Anderson had shown a shred of sincerity. But now Damien had the perfect excuse to give in to the vengeance he'd been holding back. In a flash, Damien moved so fast he reached Anderson on the first floor. With his dagger aimed, he was ready to tear him apart. But Damien got careless. A man rushed in and struck him with a heavy sword, knocking him back down to the ground floor. The blow was insanely strong. The mysterious man's name was Ted, someone Anderson had been waiting for to step in. Damien admitted Ted had serious strength. He wondered how someone like Ted ended up working at such a lowly place. This made Damien curious why a knight of that caliber was here at all. Let's talk about knights for a moment. These warriors live a life dedicated to martial arts. There's a hierarchy, starting as a trainee, then apprentice knight, and finally official knight. Official knights are powerful warriors who can use aura to become mountain-level fighters. They can cut down dozens of enemies or even tear through castle walls without breaking a sweat. In other words, the knights in this story are seriously strong. So strong, in fact, that they're seen as almost transcendent beings. That's why the bar owner was giggling like a lunatic. He was sure he had the upper hand. Even though Ted was only an apprentice knight, he was loyal to the Black Snake Gang's leader. With Ted on his side, the bar owner was confident Damien wouldn't leave the pub in one piece. And yes, that one piece was very real. Damien stood firm and asked Ted about his rank. Now he understood why he felt some aura during their fight earlier. Ted was shocked that someone like Damien could sense his aura, even though Ted tried to hide it. Thinking it over, Damien guessed why Ted worked at a place like this. He figured Ted wasn't good enough to become an official knight and had been kicked out of the ranks, left with nowhere else to go. Ted's anger flared up when the bar owner called him an apprentice, and he exploded with incredible speed, swinging his sword to slash Damien's mouth in punishment for the insult. But Damien wasn't scared. He stood still as Ted's blade came down. He dodged the attack at the last second. If he hadn't, Ted would have sliced him in half. Preparing for a second attack, Ted swung his sword repeatedly. Damien dodged with ease, slowly learning his opponent's skill. Ted didn't seem like an average apprentice. His swordplay was precise and powerful. Angry that none of his attacks landed, Ted went all out and infused his body with aura. Damien saw what was coming. Ted launched a powerful linear sword strike. Calm even in the face of death, Damien prepared a counter technique. He remembered his days as a Death Knight, facing the legendary killer called the Blade of Death. The Phantom Assassin, a feared killer, challenged him. He warned Damien to run or be killed. When Damien refused, the Phantom Assassin grew bloodthirsty, thrilled to have a worthy target. The assassin's secret technique involved analyzing a body's vital points using the water inside it. He unleashed a deadly attack, slicing Damien's body with a wooden sword, showing how great the technique was. Damien's body was torn and lay on the ground. The Phantom Assassin celebrated victory. But Damien wasn't done. His body reformed, flesh and organs knitting back together, even after being cut in half. That was because Damien used the anti-kit technique from the Han era. The Phantom Assassin realized too late he had made a huge mistake targeting an undead monster. Here's the icing on the cake. After experiencing the same technique on his own body, Damien instantly learned it. Using his keen eyes, he targeted the Phantom Assassin's vital points. Without even understanding what was happening, Damien slaughtered the assassin with the very technique he had just learned. And he did it without a sword. The maniacal assassin felt excruciating pain but couldn't comprehend how Damien had copied his secret move. Back to the present, Ted wore a similar look of despair and defeat. He was on the ground, not sliced in half like the assassin, but he had a deep slash across his body. Damien explained that none of his enemies knew what hit them before they were down. His fights always went like that. Why? Because his one special ability as a Death Knight was to absorb his enemies' skills and make them his own. Seeing Ted fall like that scared the bar owner out of his mind. He was sweating bullets, sure he was next. With a desperate look, the owner dropped to his knees, apologizing for bringing dishonor to the Hashing family. He also offered a serious amount of gold as compensation. Inside, Damien celebrated quietly. He only came for a simple apology but got money too. He decided to let it go and glanced at Victor, who watched everything silently. Victor quickly went to collect the gold, questioning what he had just seen. He couldn't understand how Damien suddenly had such powerful techniques. In the next scene, Damien and Victor left the bar. Victor commented that he had never carried so much money before. But he had a feeling the bar owner wasn't done yet. This scumbag planned to take revenge. While plotting, the bar owner got a sharp surprise. Damien sliced off his right ear. The owner screamed in pain, and Damien reminded him he couldn't leave without proper punishment. He warned that if the Black Snake Gang ever messed with his family, he'd wipe them out completely. Despite losing his ear, the bar owner still planned to report to the gang leader. But Damien walked away, ready to face whatever came next. He had come to terms with his past, a past filled with blood, murder, and sin. This time, he wouldn't run away. He vowed to never disappoint his family, and to always stay by their side. Damien declared it was time to go home. The scene shifted to the Lion Bloom March, where a man talked to his brother about the phrase, "Pain always follows love." The brother didn't get it, and thought the man was heading to another battle. But the man said he was actually on a quest to find love, though his ugly expression made it hard to believe. Back at the Hashin estate, Damien was glad for a good night's sleep after his wild night. Victor, however, was wide awake, still trying to process what happened. Damien assured him everything worked out and there was nothing to worry about. Even though they strayed from the plan, they accomplished their goal. Now Damien waited for rumors to spread, hoping people would realize not to mess with Viscount Hashin's eldest son. With that reputation, no one would dare cross his family again. He was also happy that his useless son image would change, and people would start respecting him. Victor, though, couldn't believe how suddenly competent and self-aware Damien had become. Victor feared the Black Snake Gang's response because what Damien did was seriously provocative. He had wiped out their men and even an apprentice knight. But Damien was confident they'd think twice before crossing a noble family. And if they didn't, he'd beat them black and blue. That eased some of Victor's worries. Victor praised Damien's exceptional sword skills Damien shouldn't even have. Victor wondered when Damien had become such a capable swordsman. Damien quickly turned away, having no explanation. He told Victor he trained every now and then. Meanwhile, Damien's father was pacing like the Flash, furious that his son had been gone all day. He was scared Damien had caused even more trouble. Showing no signs of fear, Damien tells his father to calm down since he already handled everything and fixed his previous mistake. Then, he tells Victor to show their prized possession. The glimmering gold coins quickly win over his parents. It's the easiest way to make them happy. The young master explains how he traveled to that same tavern and cleared up a misunderstanding, a miscalculation they made, and because of that, they gave him consolation money. I love how he conveniently leaves out the part where he cut off hands and plucked off the bar owner's ear. His parents are skeptical at first but quickly convinced once they see the gold. Damien even pushes Victor to back him up, shoving him under the spotlight too. Victor agrees with everything the young master says, giving his words more weight and earning the family's trust. Damien's parents are pleased, while Victor is realizing his young master is a pro at gaslighting. Cut to Damien sprinting in the fields, testing his stamina. After a while, he's exhausted and gasping for breath. This makes him realize his physical limits. He has to fix his weak body fast or face huge disadvantages. Pulling out a purple gem from his pocket, he feels lucky to have something that'll help him in the short term. Before leaving the tavern, the bar owner gave him this tonic, a creation from the Alchemy Academy. It boosts stamina and energy significantly. Damien is surprised to hear the Academy's name. They're known for these potions, so valuable they're like gemstones. Lucky for him, he got it for free. He quickly gulps down the tonic and feels a jolt of energy brewing inside him. The effect kicks in fast. He crushes the vial, thinking his most important goal right now is rebuilding his body, to become the unstoppable Death Knight again. The spooky Archlich Dorgo is bound to unleash his undead army, destroying the world. Damien must stop that dark future at all costs. That's why he's determined to regain his powers. It's the only way to protect what matters, his family's safety and happiness. Pumped, he takes off for another run, declaring he'll kill the Archlich. This time, he'll make sure Dorgo stays down. That very night, the scene cuts to the Black Snake Group's tower. The grunting fatso is disappointed with the apprentice knight's defeat, especially since they spent a fortune hiring him. Ted's condition is so bad even the underlings think he needs treatment. But off-brand Kim Jong-un, that's Cedric, is ruthless and orders Ted to be thrown into the dumpster. Meet Cedric Walker, the Black Snake boss, who doesn't believe in second chances and wants Ted disposed of immediately. After all, they can just buy a replacement. Summoning all his strength, Ted stands up and complains about this harsh end. Cedric is surprised Ted is still standing and offers him a second chance if he gets treated. But Ted is so mad that he lunges at Cedric with his blade. Despite his desperate attack, Ted is stopped by shadow tendrils that quickly chain and immobilize him. The person responsible appears and prefers killing Ted outright, as per their contract. Cedric eagerly awaits to see how this new hire performs. Ted shouts complaints helplessly, but the mage chants a command and unleashes demonic creatures upon him. Before Ted can understand what's happening, he meets a bone-chilling death. Despite begging for mercy, 5 demons tear off his limbs and head, ripping him apart as his screams echo. In the end, all that remains is a miserable foot, probably the worst death seen in a while. Cedric is disgusted but impressed. He accepts the mage into the group and requests cleaner kills going forward. The mage is happy to hear that and awaits the next target. Cedric talks about the recent incident involving a noble messing with their members. But Cedric won't stop. All he wants is for Damien to suffer an agonizing, gruesome death, and he's willing to pay extra. Cedric pays the mage his commission up front. The dark mage eagerly accepts the task and prepares to succeed. Out of breath and exhausted, our boy pushes forward with his intense training. He's grinding through squats with heavy weights on each side, building muscle and boosting his stamina. This routine is really paying off. Yet, strangely, the last few days have been unusually quiet, almost like something bad is lurking just around the corner. He had fully expected the Black Snake group to come after him by now. Just as he reaches for his water bottle, he suddenly senses 2 assassins nearby. Recognizing them as operatives of the organization, he swiftly strikes with incredible speed to pin them down. But to his shock, one of the targets turns out to be Abel, his nerdy younger brother. Damon immediately lets him go, causing Abel to flop to the ground, stunned by his brother's overwhelming strength. He fully expected to get his head crushed just now. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Damon quickly apologizes, offering his hand and explaining it was never his intention to attack him. Instead of accepting the apology, Abel reveals that he already heard about what happened at the bar and how Damon managed to get an apology from the owner. However, Abel also knows a fight broke out and many people were hurt. He accuses his brother of lying to their family. Damon doesn't try to sugarcoat it and confirms the harsh truth. Abel confronts him in disbelief, questioning how he could have taken on so many people alone. It doesn't add up unless he hired some agents or something. Despite Damon's full acceptance that he handled everything himself, Abel remains skeptical. Damon gently pats him on the head, recognizing his little brother's pure intentions and his care for the family. He actually finds Abel's worry endearing and reassures him with a smile that they have nothing more to fear. Their conversation is cut short when Victor rushes in, panting as he delivers some alarming news. Both brothers immediately become alert. The scene shifts to the family estate, where they burst into the room to find their parents sitting across from a certain man, the same one Damon met earlier who spoke of a quest for love or whatever nonsense. When Damien arrives so quickly, the arrogant man claims innocent intentions, to explain what went down at the banquet hall. Unfortunately, this guy shares a troubling history with our protagonist. To grasp their conflict, we need to rewind to the past. At the banquet hall, Damon and Erwin had a confrontation. Damon was offended by something, and Erwin, calm and composed, only provoked him further. The drunken troublemaker reminded everyone that Erwin insulted Damon's sister and spoke ill of him, giving him every right to be offended. But Erwin cleverly took advantage of Damon's drunken state to shift the blame onto him. Worse still, this jerk stepped right up to Damon's face and called him a bitch, boasting that even if Damon said all that, he couldn't do shit about it anyway. It shocked Damon to his core. At that moment, he made the worst decision possible. He responded with violence and punched Erwin. Honestly, that punch felt damn satisfying, even if it was the wrong move in such a place. Despite taking a clean hit, Erwin smiled victoriously, as if he had planned for this all along. Fast forward to the present, Damien realizes Erwin deliberately let himself be hit because he's skilled enough, almost night level, to easily dodge it. Turns out, this slime ball was playing a long game. During the family meeting, the man boldly tells Damon's parents that he holds a special admiration for their daughter, Louise. At first, the Viscount is confused by what Erwin is implying. That is, until this arrogant captain boldly announces his intention to marry Damon's sister. The statement sends shockwaves through the Hashing family. Damon's frustration boils inside him, knowing this is exactly how events unfolded in his previous life. Erwin exploits the family's difficult situation. He then doubles down, offering to overlook the banquet hall incident if the Hashing family agrees to join his house through marriage, avoiding any future conflict between their families. However, Damon's father stands firm and rejects the proposal with unwavering conviction. Erwin's frustration grows when he learns that Louise is already engaged to someone else. But Erwin brings up the banquet hall humiliation again, warning the Hashing family they can't afford to ignore the consequences of denying him. He presents them with an ultimatum. Either accept his marriage proposal for their daughter, or face a terrible, wrathful outcome. The Viscount faces a difficult decision, knowing the Lion Bloom family wields significant power among the nobles. Still, his instincts tell him Owen is a disgraceful person unworthy of his daughter. He refuses to let such a fate befall Louise. Suddenly, Louise speaks up, volunteering herself as the sacrifice and agreeing to marry Owen. Her willingness to protect the family shakes the Viscount deeply. He tries to comfort her, promising they will find a way out. Although Abel is furious and insists Louise shouldn't have to suffer for Damon's mistakes, even Damon feels a pang of sadness seeing his sister take such a stand. But Louise maintains a brave smile and promises to go along with the arrangement. This moment serves as a stark reminder to Damon of his past errors, all condensed in one painful scene. Because of the trouble he caused, his sister had to bear the burden. Now that the situation seems settled, an evil grin spreads across Owen's face. He's pleased they chose his terms. Before leaving, Owen tells Louise a formal request will be sent soon to discuss the marriage details. As he boasts, Damon's eyes narrow. Like a devil incarnate, he glares at the man. Anyone with a sister would share Damon's expression right now. Mocking him, Owen even calls Damon his brother-in-law. Damon couldn't care less about the insult, but the fact that Owen destroyed his sister's life in the original timeline fuels his determination to prevent history from repeating. Louise can't believe her brother is standing up for her. Damon mumbles something unintelligible, confusing even the arrogant noble. What Owen does understand is when Damon delivers a brutal Mike Tyson-style uppercut, launching him sky-high. Though Damon shouldn't have fallen for the provocation again, he refuses to sit back and watch this bastard ruin his family once more. Owen's body crashes to the ground as Damon firmly declares he won't let him get away with it. To understand Damon's deep hatred for Owen, we need to look back at the original timeline. After Louise was sold off to the Lion Bloom family, Damon couldn't see his sister for a long time. One day, he finally got word that they were coming to visit, and he ran excitedly, a smile on his face, eager to see her. What happened next was horrifying. The moment he arrived, his heart broke. His beautiful sister's hair was pulled roughly, as if she were some animal. Owen dragged her around, furious because she complained about her miserable family. She had dared to threaten leaving him, and that didn't sit well. But it didn't stop there. To teach her a brutal lesson, Owen prepared himself as the frightened girl trembled in fear. With a clenched fist, he violently abused her as she wailed in pain. Witnessing this shattered Damon inside. He couldn't protect his sister, and it was his own past actions that got her into this state, all because of what happened at the banquet hall. From that moment on, a burning hatred grew in Damon's heart, a hatred reserved solely for the vile Owen Lion Bloom. Back to the present, Damon has just finished his crushing uppercut. The entire family is stunned. Lion Bloom's guards arrive quickly, weapons drawn, ready to confront whoever dared attack their young master. Damon gives them a cold look and recognizes them as his escort guards. Owen, clearly not done yet, snickers like the pest he is and pushes himself back up. He's had enough of being slapped around twice and decides to settle this with violence. Clenching his sword tightly, he glares at Damon's family, who watch in horror as his true colors come out. With a smirk, Owen unsheathes his blade and taunts his so-called brother-in-law, asking if he's ready for a quick death. To avoid turning the situation into a full-blown massacre, Owen's escort guards step forward, trying to de-escalate and prevent their young master from making a bad impression. But this time, Owen ignores their advice and demands they move aside. When one guard refuses, Owen punches him so hard he crashes into the nearest wall. With a chilling reminder, he orders his guards to clear the way. Owen glares down on his family's faces with pure contempt. Abel and Louise tremble, fearing for their brother's safety. As the Lion Bloom heir advances to finish Damon off, he wonders how the Hashim family plans to respond, especially now that they've made things far worse. Sensing imminent danger for her brother, Louise steps forward to intervene, but this time, Damon won't let her sacrifice herself. He gives her a reassuring look, silently promising to handle everything. It's time for a proper duel, one-on-one. The mention of a duel surprises Owen, but Damon lays out his terms clearly. If he loses, he'll do whatever's asked. But if he wins, everything that happens so far will be wiped clean from both sides. Owen initially balks at the idea. After all, he already got what he wanted, Louise's agreement. But Damon shrewdly challenges his ego, calling him a coward for backing out of a duel. Thinking he'll easily crush Damon in a real fight, Owen accepts the duel, seeing it as the perfect chance to permanently humiliate him and steal his sister. Meanwhile, Damon's mother worries and wants to step in, but the Viscount believes their son has a plan and insists they trust him. Abel, however, knows just how grim the situation really is. He alone understands Owen's skill level, comparable to an actual knight, and sees this as a losing battle from the start. As the duel begins, Owen is shocked to see that Damon isn't even picking up a sword. Damon, calm and confident, reassures his family he's fine. To everyone's disbelief, he pulls out his trusty fork, the ultimate fork sword, a weapon as deadly as the legendary Stick of Destruction. Owen bursts out laughing, assuming Damon must be terrified or has lost his mind. But with full confidence, Owen charges, swinging wildly with his sword, intending to end the fight quickly. To his shock, Damon effortlessly dodges the first strike. Owen unleashes a flurry of attacks, performing his signature technique, the fierce roaring lion sword, a powerful and intimidating display. Yet, through all the smoke and mirrors, Damon remains grounded, dodging every blow with precision. Even the escort guards watch in stunned silence, unsure if their young master is toying with the opponent, or if Damon is genuinely that skilled. And remember, he's doing all this wielding just a simple fork. On top of that, Damon has already started to grasp the Lion Bloom family sword techniques. Here's the interesting bit. In the original timeline, the Death Knight Damon faced off against the Lion Bloom eldest son, Micah Hell Lion Bloom, a true powerhouse. Compared to Micah, Owen is weak and unimpressive, which is why this version of Damon isn't struggling against him at all. Owen's blood boils as he unleashes waves of aura, refusing to believe that Damon's dodging skills are anything but luck or trickery. But summoning that aura is dangerous for anyone caught in its path, so Damon faces a fresh challenge: how to avoid the deadly aura attacks. Owen dashes at lightning speed, aiming to land a killing blow. At this critical moment, Damon selects the Sword Saint technique from his skill list and uses it. When their weapons clash, Owen's world shatters. He can't believe a mere fork is blocking and even overpowering his sword. Before he can make sense of it all, Damon executes his secret move, the Countless Thunder Shadow Revelations. The Fork of Destruction flings Owen's sword away effortlessly. This is the young noble's ultimate downfall, as Damon prepares to finish the fight. The fork stabs into Owen's neck, ending the duel in a shock to everyone watching. But don't worry, Damon's merciful. He only pokes the neck, warning Owen of what he could have done. Despite the tiny wound, Owen freaks out like a scared child. In truth, Damon wanted to kill him and erase that pestilence from the world, but he knows now is not the time. He chooses his family's side and lets this slide. Declaring himself the clear winner, Damon asks if Owen has any objections. Reduced to a trembling wreck, Owen is silent. Damon then orders him to leave, bringing this chapter to a close. If you enjoyed the way Damon handled that humiliation, don't forget to like the video and show your support.